Alright, what is going on my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and I made this tweet, when was it, June 12th? So it's been 5 days since I made this tweet. Finally getting around to actually make this video. I don't know when this video is going to go live, maybe during the middle of the treasure map or something I'll make this go live. So what I wanted to do is basically get people's hot takes. I've made a couple of videos of this in the past where I want to see like people's genuine hot take opinions about Treasure Cruise, and it's crazy because people don't seem to know what a hot take is. I want to see people's controversial opinions, bro. I don't want to see, the opinion that everyone has the exact same, opinion about. I want to see something different. I want to see something interesting, and hopefully we see some of those today. So let's see how many people have. 52 people have commented on this, so let's go ahead and get into things. All right, let's just jump into it. We got Stumpingtons, old mate Stump D Gacha, another Treasure Cruise content creator. Make sure to go ahead and check him out if you guys haven't subscribed to him over on YouTube. So he says that the tag system sucks right now, not because of the system itself, but because they prematurely released it before giving every unit the standard easy tag. Some Straw Hats that are pretty irrelevant don't have the basic Straw Hat tags. Emphasis on right now, though. I mean, yeah, I 100% agree with this. It's ridiculous. The fact that, like, they released these legends, right? Like, specifically talking about, like, the Straw Hats. This one was, like, the biggest one. Like, obviously, he emphasized it himself in the tweet. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, where they really want you to run characters with this Straw Hat tag, but the issue is like, there are so many Straw Hats in the game that just don't have tags. Old Treasure Map rare recruits, Kizuna rare recruits, old school rare recruits, old free-to-play units. There's so many units that just don't have their tags yet, and even though you think, oh, I'm gonna put this Frankie on my team because he's a Straw Hat, and then all of a sudden, the effects don't actually work because he doesn't have the tag, even though he should be a Straw Hat pirate, he doesn't have any tags yet. And this goes far beyond just the Straw Hats. This goes with a lot of units. There's even some Navy characters to work with Kizaru that don't have it. I mean, J. Garcia Saturn is another discussion entirety because, obviously the characters that he's representing don't really have a lot of representation in the game, obviously. And then, obviously, you had these ones right here, which are a little bit different. But either way, I agree with the fact that, the tag system sucks at the moment, mainly because there's just not enough units that have the representation. I would really like, if they're really going to go hard in on these tag functions, like whenever they release a new batch of characters, right? Let's say like when this guy came out, they really should have given us buffs for old characters within the tags. So the old free-to-play story Celestial Dragons all should have received buffs, all should have been changed to add the Driven class onto their kit to ensure that they actually work with this guy. That would have been amazing. But no, they decided not to do it, and then even more annoying, they go into part 3 of the celebration and they don't give us more support again, which would have been a perfect time to give us Figureland Garling to work perfectly with Saturn, but no, they didn't do that either. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. I get why they released this guy right now, but the way they designed him just doesn't really help. And I mean, this is getting off on a tangent for Saturn, but either way, I do agree with Stump's take. The tag system is just really annoying to use because they're so hell-bent on us running tags, but yet a lot of the characters don't have them yet, so you can't really build optimal teams. It's just very, very frustrating. My man Cobby coming in saying, probably a take that barely qualifies as lukewarm, but the Pirate Alliance system is a uniquely putrid mess that highlights OPTC's lack of built-in community features. Forcing players to use other social medias to find an active alliance does not help. Yeah, I do agree with this one, that the lack of attention to Pirate Alliance is really annoying, because essentially Pirate Alliance is you get 10 people together, including yourself, and you just basically compete in events together. There's nothing. Yes, you have a chat function to talk with your alliance, and that's basically the extent of it. They could do so many different things to make the alliance function more interesting, yet they basically do nothing. And I get that adding features to the alliance system doesn't ultimately net them, more profit for their bottom line or anything like that. But it's just something that they should really be doing and focusing in on, because quality of life is something they should consistently be working on. And this is one of the things that has essentially been untouched since the release of Pirate Alliances. The interesting thing is that when Pirate Alliances first came out, I believe when you go to your Pirate Alliance screen, in the top left of the screen, it mentions that alliances can have a ranking or something. And I don't think that they've ever been used. It's just really, really dumb. They need to add more to it for sure. Captain Pappy, of course, another Treasure Cruise content creator. So let's see what he has to say. The damage cap was a good feature from Bandai. Yes, this is a premium hot take. After seeing a single unit hit upwards of 200 trillion damage, it now makes sense why there's a cap, especially now that you can get 14 times attack boost. while annoying, somewhat bridged the gap between mid and end game players. I agree with this one wholeheartedly. I mean, initially when we saw that we were able to reach the damage cap, and the thing is like when damage cap was first realized and kind of understood, like people weren't even going that far above the damage cap, so it was kind of frustrating. But as he says now, with the damage that is just ramping up from the 11th anniversary and the numbers are just getting so crazy, that the damage cap is a necessary evil, because the damage discrepancy is just way too high. I do think that damage cap needs to be here, but I feel like the way that it is implemented is a little annoying, because people can build very obscure teams that are able to bypass the damage cap with very obscure strategies. So again, it's a really fine line to kind of balance on, right? Because if you just get rid of it, then I think it's going to be a little absurd for Super Boss Kizuna. But if you do have it, it does make things a little frustrating, because reaching 1 trillion damage now is actually pretty easy to do. I mean, I was able to do it, and I didn't have all my characters maxed out or anything like that. So I do think that it's a little too easy to reach 1 trillion nowadays, but I don't think that, you know, removing the damage cap is a good thing either. It's a very interesting conversation, honestly. I don't really know how they're going to do it. They did mention, like, potentially, like, an exponential damage cap where, you know, once you reach 1 trillion and then each segment after 1 trillion, you know, it gets, like, more and more damage reduction applied to it. Something like that is probably going to happen. Alright, it says, I don't know if it's a hot take, but GP is the best game mode in the game until your 15th battle, of course. Grand Party being touted as the best game mode in Treasure Cruise is a supreme hot take. I mean, I would like to see your opinions why. I disagree with this. I think Grand Party is just terrible. I think, honestly, my favorite Rumble mode is Assault Rumble. I really do like Assault Rumble. I like the game mode. Like, obviously, it's not perfect, but I have a lot of fun with it, because it's just a different way to play, and the rewards are pretty good in it too, for not really much investment. So either way, Grand Party being the best game mode is a crazy take. Wayne Kafel saying Treasure Map is the best game mode. I mean, I actually kind of agree with this one. I think TM is the best mode, gives you the best rewards, and it's, I wouldn't say it's the most fun, but it definitely keeps you engaged. I do think that there is still a lot of quality of life they could do to make it better. Like, still, traversing around the map is just so painful. Missing the bird is the worst thing ever. You just lose so many points. So, again, like, it's not a perfect game mode, but in terms of the rewards that you get out of it for the time that you invest into it, TM is the best. It's just, it is what it is. Alright, we got Siraj here saying, most, if not all, level 2 ink effects suck. I'm happy I stopped at level 1 ink for my Nami, Robin, Boa 6+. I think that is... I wouldn't say that's a... I mean, I do kind of agree in a way. I don't think all... Like, well, he said most, if not all, level 2 ink suck. I disagree with that. There are plenty of level 2 ink effects which look phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I think that stopping at level 1 for characters is just ridiculous, because the art change from no ink effect to level 1 is, like, almost non-existent, and honestly is probably even worse. I'd much rather have the static artwork than a couple of little things fly around on the screen. Level 2 for some characters definitely looks terrible, but I think generally speaking, level 2 ink effect looks awesome. And I think that it's honestly one of the coolest, like, aesthetic upgrades that they've done in Treasure Cruise throughout the entire lifespan of the game. I just love it. It adds more character to the artworks, the blinking effects on characters. It just looks dope. I will say, though, I love motion artworks. You know, characters like the New Year's Luffy, Jay Garcia Saturn, you know, Luffy versus Kaido. Those motion artworks, they look amazing. I love to see more of those. Fulcron says the best mechanic gameplay-wise is Captain Action, and it's sad that they don't make it more often. It's always linked to the powers in the manga, and that's cool. Gear 4 V2 Luffy, which he has the gear change mechanic. Int Sanji with the jumping effect, V1 Big Mom. V1 Big Mom is a bit of a weird Captain Action. I think she's kind of terrible, but if you could switch that effect on and off, that would make her amazing. Frankie with the General Frankie, really, really dope Captain Action. And then unique effects like Sugar and Toki. Well, Sugar and Toki aren't specifically Captain Actions, but I agree with what he's saying, that effects that are enabling you to, you know, basically get the essence of the character's abilities and then put them into the game. While it is very difficult to do and usually takes more time for Bandai to do it, it always does make things more exciting for sure. I mean, I think like Legend Sugar was such a crazy release, and her abilities are so unique and so powerful that she was used for a lot back in the day. Obviously nowadays her abilities are pretty mundane, and overall it actually does give you less power if you end up going down the Sugar route. Obviously it is content dependent. And characters like Gear 4 V2 Luffy, I am absolutely shocked that we have never received an additional character like this quick Gear 4 Luffy. For those of you who weren't around when this guy came out, He was the best legend in the game when he dropped, but the really cool ability is that, like, you start off always active as this. You have the gear 2nd captain is, I think, the base, and then you could transform between gear 2nd and gear 3, and then once you build up your gauge by consuming recovery slots or tapping perfect, it would allow you to transform into Bound Man or Bounce Man, and then eventually, if you've consumed enough recovery slots, instead of transforming into Bounce Man, it would be Tank Man instead, which obviously gives you more damage reduction, more damage. And this effect was really cool. I'm so shocked that they've never done this. I mean, I guess that they kind of tried to do it with the New Year celebration with this Luffy, but it's just not the same. Having to activate Super Type and Super EX and, you know, Super Class effects in order to transform is just ridiculous. I don't understand why they just didn't make it, you know, make him have an EX Super, but also have a build-up gauge where as you go ahead and build up your gauge, he will automatically transform into these stages. Like, let's say, like, once you have hit a certain amount of perfects, or you have consumed a certain amount of recovery slots, he just automatically becomes Gear 3 and automatically becomes Bounce Man, and not make it reliant on having to activate EX Supers, Super Types, and Super Classes would make him so much more fun to use. 100% agree with that one. That's a good take for sure. I mean, it's a take, but like Captain Action being overall the best mechanic, I don't know if I agree with that. It's really cool, but it's kind of unexplored is the way that I'd kind of put it. They just need to they really need to delve into it a little bit more. All right, we've got another one here that says, there are many horrible things to say about the game, but by far the worst thing is the pay-to-win aspect. If you don't have every character on level limit break 5, they are useless in the hardest content, which makes pulling a new unit have kind of a bad feeling. I don't know if I, like, 100% agree with this one, to be honest. I do agree that, you know, when certain modes come out, like let's say Assault Rumble, to rank high in Assault Rumble, to rank high in Treasure Map, you need those boosters for sure. But what I will say is you don't need those boosters to clear the content. And I will say, I guess, like Pirate King Adventures, if you don't have the boosters for PKA, it feels really bad. I hate playing PKA, honestly. It's one of the worst modes in the game. I really, really dislike it. But if you have the boosters, if you have the batch, PKA feels so amazing. It feels so good to have the team against PKA. But when you don't have that, it feels really bad. But it's not impossible. Like, there's a lot of good characters in the game, and just because you don't have the new shiny badge doesn't mean you can't clear the content. And I guess Blitz Battle does feel kind of bad in that sense as well, but again, it's just a ranking thing. It's not like you just can't clear it. So I don't really completely agree with this. I agree that the quality of life, if you don't have the badge, feels really bad, but it's not impossible. Like, I don't know. I don't really agree with this one. We've got Tacos here saying, instead of consistently releasing new units, they should take one patch to remove and revamp the stupid silver 3-star characters with 100 Rayleigh points and update the friend point pool. Yeah, I do agree that they probably need to upgrade the friend point pool. It hasn't been updated in a very long time. And we've been saying this for the longest too. Having older rare recruits just not be pullable anymore, 100% needed to happen. Like, the fact that people can still pull characters from 2016, 2017 in the generic rare recruit pool, where a lot of them are essentially useless. And I mean, I will give them credit that they have gone back and given some of those like old school Whitebeard pirates a level limit breaks to give them sort of an updated special. It still kind of sucks because you need to pull a bunch of those units to actually make them somewhat usable rare recruits. And even with those level limit break buffs, a lot of them are still pretty terrible. So yeah, I agree that they do need to go ahead and remove a lot of those old school rare recruits for sure. I mean, again, it's not really a hot take, I don't think, but either way. We got Triple T saying arc-based tags were a terrible decision. I hope that would finally make older characters more viable again through tags, but these arc-based tags just straight up shut that down. I already see how a unit without the egghead tags gets completely power crept in a few months. I guess this is actually kind of a hot take because I actually kind of like the arc-based tags, but at the same time, characters that are old are just going to be sitting there stagnant because the new arc is always going to get the best representation in the game. Egghead is going to be the best arc-based tag. Wano will be the second best tag. You know what I mean? It's going to be that. I totally agree with that, actually. The characters in those older arcs are just not going to get much representation. Now, albeit, they'll probably, go back to older arcs, give them some representation in the future. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they go back to Skypiea, they give us a brand new Eneru legend, maybe a Wiper legend, or a Kalgara Nolan legend. People have been asking that for years, but, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, you never know, right? I can see them going back to older arcs, and then it'll be like, if you have X characters from X arc, you get the buff. And while that is a very good thing, again, going back to Stump's discussion, that also could be really, really terrible because there's a lot of characters in the game that don't actually have their tags yet. But that would be a really good thing. Let's say there's a bunch of Marineford characters that don't have their tags yet. They go back, they give us a Marineford badge, and then during that monthly reset, boom, they release a bunch of those tags for the Marineford characters, and then give level limit break buffs to those characters with those tags to make them useful and usable with the new badge. If they go down that route, then they're going to fix everything, and it's not going to be a problem. But if they don't give us buffs to old units, they don't bring the tags in at the right time, then things are going to get clunky. I agree with that, 100%. Alright, we've got Ryan here saying that this is the best character in the game, no debate. Yeah, Usopp, yeah, sure. Memories of Straw Hat Usopp, yeah. I mean, classifying any memories of character as best character in the game is automatically an L, so sorry Ryan, try again next time. We've got Antonin saying, my hot take is that I'm the best current Blitz player in Global, but nobody knows it, and I can't prove it because I'm not able to play as much as I want because of IRL free-to-play plus Beyond Unlucky. Just wanted to flex it one more time. I mean, congrats, man. Congrats, that's pretty sick. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I mean, yeah, you did really well in this event, but can you do it again? Can you do it on another Blitz battle? Have you done it before? You can't really call yourself the best Blitz battle player if you can't do it consistently. I mean, yeah, one-time thing's a one-time thing, but hey, shout out to Antonin. Good stuff. All right, we got this one here saying, normal content is PvP. The game becomes auto chess. I mean, not really. Normal content is normal content. PvP is PvP. I don't really agree with this one. Box thing saying, every lower level unit that doesn't have an evolution should have one. Pretty vague, because I would love some examples. Sure. Yeah, sure. Give every unit that doesn't have an evolution, give them an evolution. Why not, right? Yules Gaming, another Treasure Cruise content creator, go ahead and follow him. He says, despite the quality of life changes the game has gone through, it seems many beginners find it confusing or don't know where to start. Knowing where is what feels like a chore, apparently. Yeah, Treasure Cruise is a very complex game. Compared to a lot of other games, like Dokkan Battle is always the comparison between Treasure Cruise that I always make. Because obviously they're published by the same people. They have different developers, of course, but they're published by Bandai. And the one thing that... It's kind of funny, right? Because back in the day, Dokkan was terrible. Dokkan was legitimately awful back in the day. And then eventually they ended up making it good. I don't know the whole history of Dokkan Battle, but one thing that I will say, comparing Treasure Cruise to Dokkan Battle does a supremely good job at catering to the casual audience. They do everything right to make sure that casuals that don't actively play the game every single day, they bring them back during major celebrations. They always bring the most popular characters. They make the characters busted as hell. They give everyone tons of premium currency to summon for their characters. And the gameplay of Dokkan is extremely easy to pick up. You can build a team, use that team against essentially all the content in the game, and you're going to be good to go, right? Treasure Cruise is not like that. Treasure Cruise is very difficult. There is a ton you need to know. Every character is way different from each other. Every piece of content almost is different from each other. And you almost need a different team against every piece of content in the game in order to get through it. So you can't just build one team and then expect it to work against everything. It's just not going to work. And I guess one major issue with that being the case is that Treasure Cruise doesn't tell you what the content does a lot of the time. Obviously TM and like all these game modes do it, but like let's say you want to go ahead and run Clash Zoro, for example. Nothing in the game tells you what Clash Zoro does. You literally have to use a third-party application, social media, in order to find out what those gimmicks of that content are. And the fact that that is the case is really, really lame. I would love for them to do like breakdowns of all of the content in the game, so you don't have to explore outside of it, you know, in order to, you know, actually understand like what kind of units you need to bring. And it's just the fact that the game is bloated. It's bloated with so many updates, gimmicks, content, and it's very overwhelming for new players. And it is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't really classify this as a hot take once again, but I just agree with it for sure. It's just the fact that Treasure Cruise is a very, very complex game. All right, David says they screwed is when they took the gold keys away from TM rewards. There's like no ways to get gold keys anymore. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. I still have a ton of gold keys, so I haven't really looked into the gold key situation, but I know a lot of people have been complaining about that recently. So I'm not well versed in this conversation. I don't know where gold keys even come from these days. Do you get them from PK? Do you still get them from TM, from ranking rewards? I don't even know at this point, but either way. Ryan says the best character in the game. No, wait, hang on, wait. My man did it twice? Okay, chill, bro. Alexi saying OPTC Gacha algorithm is really good. There are tiers of it. Top tier, you can get any new unit in under 10 pulls. Mid tier, you get new unit in about 10 to 15 pulls. Bad tier, above 15, under 25, all gloom. I don't really understand what this means. Treasure Cruise has not guaranteed a new legend, like a new debut legend in under 10 pulls in like over 5 years. So, well, no, yeah, it's been well over 5 years for sure. I don't really understand this one. If you're saying that the Treasure Cruise gacha system is good, that's a hot take. I would say that is a hot take. I think many people would probably disagree with you on that one. I think there's good aspects of it for sure. I think that there's definitely good aspects of the Treasure Cruise system in terms of the pull system. The fact that you get one additional unit every single multi, a lot of people overlook that, but when you look at that in the grand scheme of things, if you think of how many multis you've done, add +1 to that, and that's how many free units you've received on your account, right? Like that's a lot. It's actually a lot compared to a lot of games that don't give you a +1, right? You know, but obviously they offset that with the fact that you have to go really deep to get you know, guaranteed steps and stuff like that, which really hurts. All right, Zervis says, my hot take is TM is the most fun game mode in the game by a mile. I think the days of no support in a captain effect were more enjoyable, gave rare recruits more use. I think Gear 4 Snake Man 6 Plus was the best and most hyped Super Evo in history. Okay, let's break this down. Hot take, TM is the most fun game mode. We've had that one before, and that is a hot take. I think most people would probably disagree with that. Some people would agree. I think that the days of no support in a captain effect were most enjoyable, gave rare recruits more use. That's a really interesting point. I do kind of agree with that. The fact that we have so much utility now in captains means that back in the day when you didn't have crazy utility in the captains meant that the supports, I should say like the rare recruits on your team actually were more valuable. And that's 100% true. That is definitely true. But at this point in time, you need utility in your captain in order to make content easier. It's just as simple as that. If you have utility in your captain, that's one free spot that is freed up on your crew for something else. So while I do agree with that, it's just the fact that the game has become so much more difficult that you need to have that. And he thinks that Gear 4 Snake Man 6 Plus was the best and most hyped 6 Plus. Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, that was that, and also Time Skip Luffy transforming into Gear 4, because that was the first Gear 4 in Treasure Cruise. That was also a pretty big release, even though Time Skip Luffy was still better than the 6 Plus Gear 4. I don't know if that was a hot take or not, but Time Skip Luffy was definitely better than the Sai Gear 4 Super Evo. And then for this one, yeah, the V2 Gear 4 that we kind of talked about earlier, transforming into Snake Man, was an amazing release. Everyone was excited about that one, and that unit was really good on release too. All right, Nick. New mechanics of categories are ruining the game. First, not all units have the tags, which is, again, going on to what Stump was saying. I also don't like the fact that the team building is now even more restricted. Yes, the tags make things very, very restrictive. And like saying before, it's not that big of a problem if they go back and buff older free-to-play units or older rare recruits that people will likely have on their accounts. When they don't do that, it does make things tricky, and also not giving all characters in the game their tags makes the team building more annoying, as we kind of talked about. They just need to give us some more support for these tags. That's really it. Alright, leveling characters to 150 is a horrible experience. When I'm done completing a stage in auto, when redoing the same stage, it should go auto right away. Yeah, I mean, again, not really a hot take. Leveling to 150, everyone agrees with you on that one. It's freaking terrible. And then when you complete a stage on auto, it should automatically go again. Yes, 100% agree. Bacon Break says units should have exclusive effects to them while using the inks like Annie Kid Luffy where Yamato appears on it. Yeah, this is a really cool take as well. I don't know if you guys know about this one. I think like one of the only ink effects that legitimately changes the artwork is the Kid Luffy legend. This one right here. So right here, you see that in his artwork, it's just Kid Luffy. You got Sabo and Ace there. When you add ink effect to it, it actually adds Yamato to the side of the artwork, and it looks cool as heck. Let me get my phone, and I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. Okay, so I've got my phone connected now. So you can see the artwork right here. It's just this is the artwork. You got Luffy, Sabo, and Ace, and that's it. When we go over to the ink effect, you can see that Yamato is now on the side of the artwork with all the feathers and stuff, and obviously this was from the scene in the anime where Yamato was having that flashback with Roger and Luffy, how they mentioned the same thing with Ace. That's really, really cool, and I like the fact that the crow was like highlighted and you get all the feathers and stuff around it, and if you compare this to what you have right here, yeah, it's vastly different. So I agree with this one. Like, having ink effects that actually change the artwork, I think would be pretty sick, right? Let's move on. Alex says, despite its flaws, OPTC is still a fun game, great mechanics, tons of content to enjoy, and on top of that, no other game comes close to the amazing artwork that OPTC has. Yeah, I mean, not really a hot take. I guess people would probably disagree with you the fact that OPTC is a fun game. I think a lot of people think that it's not a fun game, but I agree with the fact that I think it is still a fun game, and I love the artwork of Treasure Cruise. I think that the artwork is definitely like a major W. Like, to be honest, like I have tried One Piece Bounty Rush a ton of times before, and I can never get into it. I really do not like the gameplay. I don't like the capture the flag mechanic. I think that the character artworks are nowhere near as good. Well, the 3D models in Bounty Rush look terrible, but I really like the 2D artworks that they have for their characters in Bounty Rush. They look really, really good. But Treasure Cruise art goes so hard, man. It's so good. Just Dane says, every character's captain and special being paragraphs long with 5+ different effects makes the game unplayable. Yeah, I agree with this one, and I think let's make a discussion point between this and Dokkan Battle. Let me pull up something real quick. Okay, so what he's saying here is that like when you look at a character's abilities in Treasure Cruise, it's just a big block of text. So Dokkan Battle actually amended this recently. So for example, this is like a random effect of a character in Dokkan Battle, and as you can see, it's just a big block of text, and it can be very confusing. What they did in a recent update is they did this. So if you read a character's abilities, it now says basic effect. This is essentially activated at all times. You get this, this, and this. And then it says, for one turn, from this character's entry turn, you get this. For every attack evaded, you get this. And this is so much easier to actually digest the information. And you can see these little blobs right next to the text. So this is like the clock with the infinity symbol. So this is saying, essentially, permanently. Permanently, you'll get the key +2 up to +10, and then down here with the exclamation point and 1. So this will only occur one time, revive with 77% HP recovered. I love this change, and having this for Treasure Cruise would be awesome. The only issue is actually going back and manually doing this to every single character in the game. So I don't think they're going to do it as much as I would love them to do it. I just think that it's extremely difficult. It's a lot of effort to change it. I would love for them to do it. I just don't think that they will. All right, Buggy Black says the game has too much content. That's a hot take. If they implement a new game mode next year, it will make the game worse. What Bandai need to do is improve the current ones. Yeah, I agree. No new game modes, fix the current ones, and then there's too much content. I don't know about there's too much content. That's definitely a hot take. But the ones that they do have, they need to fix for sure. I would much rather them overhaul current game modes rather than release a half-baked trash game mode that no one cares about, akin to Co-op Quest. Co-op Quest is very half-baked and not very good. Inferno says, anyone that loves KK is probably a random player that doesn't know how the game works. I assume KK is referring to Kizuna Clash. Kizuna Clash, I mean, playing the actual game of Kizuna Clash, I don't mind. It's just, I feel like the rewards are just very underwhelming in Kizuna. Alright, we've got Pablo here says, I think that we should back to Wano. We should go back to Wano because there's some units I want. I'm still waiting for a drunk Kaido. Also, raid bosses and Colosseums are better than any game mode and wish they would bring them back. Everyone agrees with this one. And then going back to Wano, that might be one of the hottest takes of the video. I want to go back to Wano because there's more units that I didn't get. That is crazy. I am so done with Wano. I want to leave that and I don't want to come back for a year. Leave Wano alone. Albeit a drunken Kaido, yeah, probably would be pretty cool, but like, let's be real, we don't really need more Kaidos in the game. But that's a crazy hot take. All right, KBY, let's have a look here. 1/6+ a month is an embarrassment. Agreed. More level and break faster and more 6+, 5+ for old recruits. Agreed. Lack of farmable content, turtle farming, live break mats, cola farming, etc. As a returning player, new player, it takes months to max TM units, PKA units, Kizuna units, which are free to play options. Again, none of these are hot takes, but I agree with all of them. I do think that we should be receiving more than 1/6+ a month. The fact that we get like what 4 legends a month on average, and we only get 1/6+, that doesn't really balance out. We should be getting at least like minimum 2 per month, and scale all the way up to 4 per month. Honestly, that's what we should be doing. Every game mode, honestly, just give every game mode its own dedicated 6+ skulls. Honestly, I'd be down for that. Gabriel says, I miss rotating dungeons. I remember getting excited when Raid Durfee was out, Raid Monster Chopper, Raid Enel. Nowadays, the game is extremely monotonous. They're never anything different. It's just new TM. You get the new TM legend. Kizuna is out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But at the end of the day, you could say the exact same thing about the raids. Oh, you know, Raid Durfee's out. Oh, you know, Raid Monster Chopper, Raid Enel. You can say the exact same thing about that. What I will say is that having raids, clashes, colosseums, arenas even come out, they were pretty fun content because not only like was you could be very flexible with your team builds. You could build whatever you want, but the fact is you got a free to play character out of it as well that would usually be a support unit, like a character you could use alongside the new batch to make them work. Like imagine again, like if you had Saint J Garcia Saturn release and then they did a raid, a clash for a celestial dragon that would work with him. That'd be so cool, but no, they didn't do it. So stuff like that, man. Senzu Gang, if Dokkan is land, OPTC is water for me. I have no idea what that means, but yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, but sure. Free Kuma says the anime exclusive characters in the Choose Your Own Suga are the best part of it, as they are much rarer than things like Zanji. Yep, again, not really a hot take. I agree with that. Anniversary exclusives are typically what people want more of because they only come out like twice a year, 3 times a year maybe. So the fact that that people want them more makes a lot of sense. Hello says level limit break is one of the worst features they added in the game. Why is it that I have to invest one of the most valuable resources, wanted posters, into a unit I'm only ever going to use once to beat Grand Voyage? Well, that's why they want you to do more pulls. If you do more pulls, you get more dupes, which levels up the characters. It's a dumb system, I agree, but it is what it is. What I do like about level limit break is it gives updates to like old units. Making old units that you already have a ton of investment in, getting buffs is lovely. I do love that a lot. It's just the fact that, you know, when they give it to new characters or characters that are like really hard to get dupes of, at that point it feels really, really bad. We got Eluded says all the game modes are great. The only problem is the rewards are way too far, like for all the waifu 6+ skulls. Okay, this is about the paywalled 6+. I agree with this one. The paywalled 6+, terrible, but on top of that, actually getting the skulls can be very difficult. You have to reach box 7 and then repeat it twice. Like it's technically you don't have to. You just have to reach box 7 and complete box 7 once, and then complete the alliance rewards to get the additional skulls once the event is concluded. But I agree with the fact that, you know, sometimes getting the rewards in a Kizuna just feels really bad. If you just don't have the boosters or your alliance is really bad, getting through Kizuna boxes is just so bad. It feels really, really terrible. Caleb says, I hate how the celebration units are picked. I would rather a new Gear 2nd unit than a new Gear 5. I mean, yes, but at the same time, Gear 5 is just supremely popular. There's just no reason why they wouldn't do a Gear 5. Plus, why would they do a Gear 2nd for Egghead when, like, Gear 5 is, like... Gear 5 is so much more popular, and again, it brings in new people to the game that, you know, maybe aren't really savvy with the whole Treasure Cruise stuff. If they go ahead and scroll through the App Store and they see, like, a Gear 5 character in a game, they're probably going to be more excited than seeing a Gear 2nd, right? We see him saying, 10 years and I can't manually order the sequence of which enemy I want to attack. I have to change targets while attacking. It's peak trash game design. While I think that makes sense, I also say it's like a get good kind of situation, because once you understand the actual mechanics of the targeting system in Treasure Cruise, I would classify it as a skill of the game, because I actually kind of like it. It does make it a bit more engaging, where if you have to tap to a different character in the middle of your attack sequence, I think that's kind of a skill in the game. I kind of like that, to be honest. I dig it. I totally disagree with you on this one. My man Revo coming in. Damage cap is the only reason why Kizuna is not beyond awful. It's still the worst game mode. Yeah. I mean, Kizuna needs a lot of work. And yeah, damage cap is a necessary evil for sure. Alright, my hot take is that this is the best unit in the entire game, in my view. I mean, this character is very good, no doubt. Is this the character the best? Definitely not. Definitely not. The character's got a terrible final tap. You even read that final tap? That's so bad. Fair enough then. It's your opinion though. It's your hot take. Palop says, co-op is the best game mode. It's fun, super rewarding each month. Okay, hang on. First of all, he says it's fun to play. And then he says it's super rewarding. Are we playing 2 different game modes? I swear, bro. We must be playing 2 different game modes, because I have no idea what this man is talking about. And at the end of each season, you get a ton of new units. Okay, that's valid. Through the Grand Feast Super Sugo, plus a nice amount of gems and other rewards, depending on your rank. The last section, yeah, I agree with that. But... it's fun to play and super rewarding. Okay, this might be the hottest take of the whole video. Co-op quest being fun and super rewarding, that is crazy. Okay, shout out to you, Palop. You keep going. You keep doing you, man. You keep doing you. S141. OPTC should have a normal username and password login system. It's so confusing figuring out how to back up save data. I mean, it's just because the game is so old and the infrastructure is like, it was so solidified back when they made the game. So I understand why it's not the way like current gacha games are. I would love for them to change the system, but I think with how the game is right now, I just don't think there is a logistical way for them to actually do that. I just don't think that that's actually possible, but I do agree. Rumble units that launch their special after KO should be removed from the game. Yes, sir. Finally, we have more people that agree with this. Characters that launch specials on KO are the most toxic mechanic in the game. I absolutely hate it. Oiran Yamato, Galaxy Impact Garb, Roger Ray-Ban. These characters suck. I hate them. They are so annoying to deal with. I hate challenging them. Yes, they're fun to use, but going against them just feels so bad. I do not mind characters that revive in Pirate Rumble. I think that is fine, but characters that use their special immediately feels so bad, especially because all these characters that they give these death specials to have like crazy OP specials. Damage through defense can just destroy your whole team, and it feels even worse when they launch their special and then they die immediately after and then they launch it again. Like, getting double whammed just feels so bad. I agree with this. Rumble special KO is the worst thing. I hate it. It is so bad. Let's move on. Laskak says, most ink effects ruin the artworks. The colors are unnaturally changed for darker tones and unnecessary shadows to make the flashy borings look better. Sanji and Zoro 6+. Animated style inks should overtake the flashes like Legend Moria and Robin Jinbei. This is a good take. I like this one. Yeah, character inks, like this probably goes with the one that we mentioned earlier, where ink effects like don't really add much to the effect of the art, whereas ones that actually add animations, like the one he mentions here being Legend Mori and Robin Jinbei. Let me go ahead and pull them up so you guys can actually see, because I know that you guys are probably wondering what we're talking about. Okay, so if we go over in-game right here, this is the effect screen. So this is Robin and Jinbei's level 2 ink effect right here. So they're showing here like with Robin and her arm, like that's really cool. Like adding unique abilities such as that is very, very interesting. And then the other one mentioned here was Gecko Moria. Dude, Gecko Moria's ink effect is one of the best ink effects in the entire game, and it's like, it's not even close. It's just the fact that not a lot of people use Gecko Mori, which does feel kind of bad. This guy right here. This ink effect goes so crazy. Like, I don't know why they even made this ink go so hard, but it's so good with these bats, with the flapping and stuff. You got like the rays of light shining behind Moria as he like invades Fullerled. It's just peak artwork design here that they did for this character. More ink effects akin to this would be awesome. It's just the fact that they just don't do them very often, which sucks. Okay, moving on. We says Amanol Trinidad says game is too convoluted after 10 years, virtually impossible for new players to get a handle to the game. There's no content guides that are updated enough to guide new players. Well, throughout this anniversary celebration, I've made a ton of videos, and also there is the Lesson Time OPTC series with myself, Stumpty Gacha, and also Rogers Base had all created content to help new players get into the game. That is a really good way to do it, but there isn't really a lot of systems inbuilt into the game that help new players actually understand and handle the content, because the game is extremely complex. It's not really a hot take, but I agree. Alright, Luffy Straw Hat says, Bandai is actually a very genuine and caring company. Man, that might be the hottest take of the video. God damn, that's crazy. Again, there's no real, there's no evidence to support this, but, you know, that's a hot take. Triple T says, the repetitiveness of OPC doesn't feel like shit because of the repetitive content, but because you really get to feel how slow the game is when playing the repetitive content. Making the game run faster would solve so many complaints in the community. Make the game run faster. I mean, like, if you could, like, just cut a lot of animations out of the game, it definitely would make things faster, I suppose. It's an interesting take. Golden 8 says, the game is horrible for new players and very hard to learn how the game works. I don't understand half of what the units do. Enemies hit you with debuffs that you can't see who deals with these debuffs in the game. I want to get into the game so bad, but it's just so overwhelming. I mean, this is obviously coming from a new player, and as someone who has played the game essentially since it came out, I can understand that he just straight up just doesn't understand what are things going on in the game. So again, this is more of an issue on his end rather than, like, you know, the game being bad, I guess. But again, the game doesn't do a good job at teaching players, I guess, is the thing. But because there is so much to teach, it's overwhelming. I understand where he's coming from. Saturn's captain to stack attack boost is booty. It only feels strong because it's a 5 times boost. Imagine using 2 different 5 times damage increases. Suddenly you're dealing 25 damage instead of the pathetic 10x. Pathetic 10x? Are we saying a 10x attack boost is pathetic? Bro, this guy is smoking something. Being additive instantly instead of multiplicatives. Dude, if we had a 25 times attack boost, like, what are we doing here? Like, no. This is already absurd. A 5 times attack boost is already crazy high. The fact that you can stack another attack boost to add on top of it is already insanely busted. Like, what are we talking about here? This man wanted it to be multiplicative? Are you crazy? Are you crazy, dude? What are we talking about here? Oh my god, chill. Alright, Broyon Griffon. Maybe not a hot take, but the way Bandai handled the legends during the Wano arc was disappointing. They could have highlighted other moments from the arc, but decided to pump out more Gear 5 and Yamato legends. To be fair, they didn't give us a ton of Gear 5 and Yamato legends. Well, okay, Yamato got a lot, but I mean, Gear 5 was only towards the end of the arc. We got a couple of them, so I don't think it's that crazy. And I don't really think there's like that many other characters in Wano that really like that should have got a legend that didn't get one. I feel like it was pretty decent representation. I guess one that comes to mind that didn't really get a legend was like, we didn't get like a legend Marco during the whole Wano arc, did we? We didn't get one for him. We got a legend Izo, which is crazy. We got an Izo, and I mean, we got a ton of Scabbard related stuff. So I feel like they did a relatively good job. I don't really agree with this one. Some Rumble units can be quite overly powerful and broken. Like, I took a match against someone only having 4 Psy units, Garp, Kirby, Old Gear 5, Luffy, and someone else, and you lost with a pretty decent Psy team of 8 units. I mean, probably just skill issue, honestly, because that team seems pretty easy. That seems pretty easy. It's probably just a skill issue, let's be real. Rosie says, Psy Gear 5-6 plus Luffy art sucks major butt. Psy Roger level... Okay, well, okay, first one, he's talking about this Luffy right here. He's saying that this Luffy art sucks. I disagree. I love this Luffy artwork. It looks cool. Psy Roger level limit break should make him top 5. Yes, but it doesn't. So, well, it is what it is. On the topic, level limit break shouldn't be 150 for the proper buffs and should be level 120 for some units. Well, it is 120 for some units. For some of the Super Sugo Fest exclusives like a Yamato, like this one right here, her level limit break... I don't know where it's stated. It's like somewhere here. So she gets her level limit break. All of her abilities are at level 120, at level 3. Captain, Special, Rumble, like all at 130. So I believe at 120. I believe all Super Sugos get their level limit break buffs at 120. Everyone else is at 150 most of the time to get all of their buffs. So I guess it kind of fulfills that. Master of Rainbow. If you want to farm Kizuna Clash or TM, you're obligated to wish in their banner. I mean summon, but you won't get a thing. Be thankful for only getting the new non-Sugo units. It also reminds me of the new banner. In the 11th multi, you get a promotional. Bro, do I even look like I have 550 gems? I don't know what this guy's talking about. I have no idea what old mate is yapping on about. I guess he's saying that if you want to farm Kizuna or TM, you need to pull. But again, that's not necessarily true. If you want to rank high, yes, you should pull. But you don't need to pull the units in order to play the game mode. You know what I'm saying? Alright, M says, the game will outlast the anime. The core player base will always stick with it. That's a hot take. I do not think this game will last longer than the anime will be. I just don't agree with that. I mean, it's a hot take. I just don't agree with it. And lastly, we have Limelight says, any banner but Super Sugo should be 30 gem multis. Not a hot take, but I 100% agree with this one. Honestly, all multis should be 30 gems at this point. I do not care if the steps of multis do not change. But if they changed it so that instead of 50 gem multis, they're now 30 gem multis, that would be amazing. That would be such a great change. And there you go. So, unfortunately, not all of these were hot takes. That's for damn sure. Not all of these were hot takes, but there was definitely some good discussion points in here. So hopefully this give you guys a bit of something to watch during the TM period here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. And if you guys have any of your own hot takes, I would love to hear them down below in the comment section. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video though. And if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.